Have you ever wished you could see into the future? What if I told you that, for over 1,000 years, the most powerful people in the ancient world, from kings and generals to everyday citizens, traveled to one specific place to do just that? Welcome to Delphi, nestled on the slopes of Mount Parnassus in Greece. This wasn't just a city, it was considered the center of the world, the very navel, or omphalos, of the earth. But why? Because it was home to the most famous oracle of all time, the Pythia, the priestess of Apollo. The story of Delphi begins long before the Greeks. Archaeological evidence shows it was a sacred site as far back as the Neolithic period. Around 4000 BC early on, it was a place of worship for the earth goddess, Gaia. Legend says a monstrous serpent, the Python, guarded the site for her. But a new power was rising in the heavens. The Olympian gods, the handsome, golden-haired Apollo, god of music, poetry, and prophecy, journeyed to Delphi. In a legendary battle, he slew the Python and claimed the sanctuary for himself. This act symbolized the triumph of the new Olympian order over the old chthonic deities. To honor his victory, Apollo established his oracle here, and the priestess who spoke his prophecies would be known as the Pythia, named after the defeated serpent. So how did this all work? How did one get a prophecy from the god Apollo? Well, it wasn't a simple walk-in appointment. First, you had to make a journey, often a long and perilous one, to Delphi. Upon arrival, you'd purify yourself in the waters of the nearby Castalian spring. Then, you'd pay a fee, which varied depending on your status and the importance of your question, and offer a sacrifice. Usually a goat, on the sacred way. This winding path, leading up to the temple of Apollo, was lined with magnificent treasuries, built by different Greek city-states to house their offerings and show off their wealth and devotion. Imagine walking past these stunning marble buildings, each a work of art, a testament to the power and influence of Delphi. It was a display of competitive piety, with cities like Athens, Sparta, and Corinth all vying for the god's favor. Once all the rituals were complete, you could finally enter the heart of the sanctuary, the Temple of Apollo. Inside, in a small, sunken chamber called the Adyton, sat the Pythia on a golden tripod. She was always a local woman, chosen for a good character, and she would serve the oracle for life. Ancient sources describe her entering a trance-like state, possibly induced by inhaling sweet-smelling vapors that rose from a chasm in the earth. In tea states, she would channel the words of Apollo himself. Her prophecies were often cryptic, filled with riddles and double meanings. The priests of the temple would then interpret her divine ramblings and deliver them to the supplicant, usually in poetic verse. The influence of the Oracle of Delphi was immense. No major decision was made without consulting her. Colonies assessed where to found new cities. Generals asked whether they would be victorious in battle. Even private citizens came seeking advice on marriage, business, and health. King Croesus of Lydia, one of the richest men in the ancient world, famously asked the oracle if he should attack the Persian Empire. The Pythia replied, "If you cross the river, you will destroy a great empire." Confident Croesus attacked, only to be utterly defeated. The great empire he destroyed was his own. The oracle was never wrong. It was human interpretation that often failed. This ambiguity was part of its genius. It protected the oracle's reputation while forcing leaders to think critically about their own actions. Socrates, the great Athenian philosopher, is another famous example. When his friend asked the oracle if anyone was wiser than Socrates, the Pythia answered no. Socrates was baffled, as he believed he knew nothing. He spent the rest of his life questioning the so-called wise men of Athens, only to discover they knew even less than he did. He finally understood the oracle's meaning. His wisdom lay in his awareness of his own ignorance. The famous phrase, "Know thyself," inscribed on the Temple of Apollo, became a cornerstone of his philosophy. Delphi wasn't just about prophecy. Every 4 years, it hosted the Pythian Games, one of the 4 great Panhellenic games. Second in importance, only to the Olympics, athletes from all over the Greek world came to compete, not just in chariot races and wrestling, but also in music and poetry competitions. In honor of Apollo, The patron of the arts, the site was a bustling hub of culture, politics, and religion, a place where the fragmented Greek world came together. It featured a massive theater that could seat 5,000 spectators in a stadium, high up the mountain for the athletic contests, offering breathtaking views of the valley below. The decline of Delphi began with the rise of a new power, Rome. While the Romans initially respected the oracle, its influence slowly waned. The rise of Christianity was the final blow. The new faith had no room for pagan gods and oracles. In 393 AD, the Christian emperor Theodosius I officially ordered the closure of all pagan temples, silencing the voice of Apollo after more than a millennium. The site was abandoned, fell into ruin, and was eventually buried by landslides, its legendary glory forgotten for centuries. It wasn't until the late 19th century that French archaeologists rediscovered this lost wonder. Excavations began in 1892, a massive undertaking that involved relocating an entire village that had been built on top of the ancient sanctuary. What they unearthed was staggering. The Temple of Apollo, the theater, the stadium, the treasuries, and thousands of artifacts. One of the most famous finds is the Charioteer of Delphi, a magnificent bronze statue that is one of the best preserved masterpieces of classical sculpture. Today, the archaeological site of Delphi is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's one of the most popular tourist destinations in Greece. Walking the sacred way, you can still feel the weight of history under your feet. You can stand in the theater where ancient plays were performed and imagine the roar of the crowd in the stadium. And as you gaze upon the ruins of the Temple of Apollo set against the dramatic backdrop of the mountains, you can almost hear the faint echo of the Pythia's voice, a timeless whisper reminding us of the eternal human quest for knowledge and meaning. Delphi may no longer predict the future, but it powerfully connects us to our past. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey to the center of the ancient world. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more adventures into history. See you next time.